Hello, welcome to some more communication education. I am Denise Hill. I've been having so much fun sharing with you all types of information that will help you be better communicators. Whether you're doing it professionally as a speaker, as someone in the media, as an artist, or whether you just want to improve your communication with your family, with your friends, with your significant other, I've got it all for you right here. I feel like I heard music in my head. You didn't hear it though, right? No, okay, it's all right. Listen, I've been sharing how you, as a speaker, as an author, as a musician, as a singer, as somebody who has a product or service who wants to use the media to help market, promote, or brand that, how you can approach the media, what you need to know when you approach them, when you get that media opportunity, that interview, that PR activity, whatever it is, what you need to ask before you actually go on it. I want to talk now about some things you need to know when you actually get in the room. Like, what do I need to know when I'm sitting in front of that microphone? What do I need to know when that camera's pointed at me? Like, what do I need to know to execute? So I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about delivering your message, okay? Now, there's some questions I need you to be able to ask yourself, okay? Because you have to become a wordsmith. What is that? That's somebody who's capable of manipulating language in such a way that they're effective in any type of scenario. So I could, if you ask me, how are you doing? I can sit back and give you a soliloquy and speak eloquently for 60 minutes about how I'm doing. My health, my family, my mindsets, my financial situation, like everything. I can sit there and I can talk forever and give you a lot of words to express how I'm doing. Or I could say, I'm fine. A wordsmith is capable of giving the long and the short and everything in between without losing the intent of their message, without losing the meat of what they're trying to get across to their audience, to their receiver. That's a wordsmith. It takes practice. It takes some ability to care about different people and their different filters, right? Because you've got to make sure you're keeping in mind who you're talking to. And, not everyone can take it from big to small and not lose a whole bunch of stuff, right? Not everyone can take it from a novel to a tweet and not lose stuff in between. And that's really what you have to become, a wordsmith, somebody who's capable of taking it from the book down to a social media post and still give the audience the gist and the understanding and the engagement for them to know what they're talking about in terms of their product, of their services, of their event coming up, of the message that they're trying to get across. You've got to become a wordsmith. So, in preparatory for the media opportunity that you have gotten, theoretically, that you have gotten, hypothetically, on the radio and television, sitting in front of a blog writer, a newspaper journalist, a podcast person. Before you do that, I went through a lot of questions you should ask before you do that. Make sure you go back and watch that video. But also, some things you need to think about: what type of show is this? Like, and not, is this just a news show or a music show? But go even deeper. Is this a comedic type show? Is this a very serious show? Is this an endearing show where it's more, kind of empowering and laid back, and we're, on the softer side of emotions and whatnot? Like, you need to know that type as well, because when you show up and sit down, if everybody's joking and you come in serious, hey, I've come to talk about a very serious issue. Why are you all cracking jokes? It's going to be a very different experience for you that you're not really going to benefit from the way you could have had you known this is a morning show where we're all laughing, and it's about being lighthearted and fun because we're trying to get people up and excited about their day, so that you came in with that same energy. Like, man, I'm so glad I'm here with you all today, and I'm excited about sharing this information with you. Like you can do that. Let's take a very serious topic. It's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You're trying to get people to go get tested, go get your mammograms. It's very X number of people die every year from this. I've had people in my own life, that's real talk, very close to me pass away. So that's very serious. If you ask me to talk about it, I can tap into that emotion of hurt of losing those people very quickly and very easily. So I show up at a morning show where everybody's joking and everything, and I'm thinking of that person who I lost. And I'm like, this is not funny. Like, you all need to go get tested. Or I can show up and like, man, I'm so excited to be here, man. It's life is a wonderful thing. We want to make sure everybody is able to enjoy it. And so early testing, that is something that will keep you laughing just like this, because it'll catch things before it becomes a problem with your life. Like, you are able to change up the wording and the energy of your message if you understand where you are sitting. I'm sitting in a show where they're gonna laugh, where they're gonna crack jokes, or I'm sitting in a show where they're gonna be very serious, and I need to make sure that I'm serious as well. So make sure you ask that question. All right. The other ones, I need you to review the 10 questions again that you need to ask yourself before you sit down. Now, you figured out what type of show this is and what type of energy you're bringing to the table because you want to match where they are. You got to understand each medium has a different set of kind of things you need to bring to the table and consider when you're going to be a part of that. And when I say medium, that's the type. I don't want to assume everybody understands that word. A medium is the type of channel that the communication is coming through. You remember that's what communication is, right? It's a process where a sender encodes or puts together a message that they send through a channel to a receiver who breaks that message down for understanding, and then they put their own message together and send it through a channel. That's called feedback, so that the cycle just continues and the process just continues. Well, that sender who sends that message, they could send it through a text, they could send it through face-to-face conversation, they could send it through mass communication, radio, television, film, social media. It can go through any channel. And so each one of these channels, as you go to sit down and be a part of that experience so that you can market or promote or brand your business, service, book, message, music, etc., kind of, you need to know that there's some things about this, some characteristics about these mediums that make them all different. So let's talk radio, for example. When you sit down with radio, you want to not rush. You want to be conversational. One thing about radio is, even in the most serious of circumstances, right? It's very conversational because it's not about, let's get this done, let's be choppy, let's go. It's, I need the audience to be connected to me as a host. And so the best way to do that is for them to feel like I'm their friend, to feel like I'm part of their community, to feel like I'm part of them and what they do in their everyday life. Like I'm just another part of what they do. They hop in the car, they cut me on. You know, that's what the media host is thinking from radio. And so they want everybody who comes in to kind of be a part of that. Now, conversation does not mean be long-winded. It doesn't mean talk about irrelevant stuff at all. It just means be conversational, like care, like listen to what they say so you can respond, as opposed to just focused on what you want to get out and not engage at all. Be conversational. Don't rush. Even if you're given a time constraint, pull back or refine what you're going to say. Don't say it so much faster, because they are very close to the knob that can change what you and they are listening to very quickly. Okay, so don't rush. Be conversational. You'll potentially have a 15 to 30-minute interview if you are doing public affairs shows. If you've watched a previous video, then you know that the media is responsible for doing public affairs shows. They have to provide community members time on their radio station. It's required by law. If they have an FCC license, they have to, by law, make time for the community, which is why they have community affairs shows, which is why they have PSAs. Those tend to be more long form. Whereas many radio shows that are commercial, that have music, they have to chop their interviews up so that they tend to be more like 5 to 10 minutes long but there could be multiple segments of those. Okay, so understand they're going to be segmented or completed timed ones as well. Speak to a specific niche. Radio stations speak to a specific niche. They have a audience that they have defined very well. And they've done that through ratings, television as well, but we'll get to them in a minute. They've done that through ratings analysis where they've been able to identify how many women ages 18 to 24, how many black women ages 35 to 54, how many, like they know very much who they're listening to. So it's very niche oriented and you can speak specifically to that audience. So for example, let's say your event is a Republican event. It's a political event for Republicans. You can very much speak directly to the Republicans in that audience because it's likely that that is who that particular station is niched down for, if that makes sense. So you don't have to be super broad and try to cast a wide net. You can niche down when it comes to radio. But be prepared to offer statistics and general topic knowledge because they expect you to be an expert. They very much expect you to be an expert and be able to contribute more than just come to my event, buy my book, come hear me speak. Like they expect you to be able to offer that expertise that you are there to represent as an expert. So make sure you understand that about radio. When you're going to a music station, those are concise, very short, 3 to 5, 5 to 10 minute interviews. You have to engage listeners by speaking to their concerns and their needs because you don't have much time. Get them engaged. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is why this affects you. This is why you should be interested in this. And then call them to action. Get that done in 3 to 5 minutes. If they keep you around for more segments, if they keep you around for more time, that's gravy. But understand there might be a commercial break in between that more time and in between that more segments where you lost that first listener. So every single one needs to be about this is who I am. This is what I do. This is why it matters to you and why it's important to you, why it should matter to you. And this is the call to action. Every single one needs to have that. It can be laced with all types of conversation, jokey joke, let's laugh, let's engage each other. But those tidbits you have got to get out quickly. Okay? Understand, words are dominant with radio. You've got to use powerful, detailed words. It is one-dimensional. They only hear you. This is not television. They do not hear and see you. So you've got to paint the picture for them. You can't just say, this is important, you need to go do it. Like, why? Paint the picture. Hey, don't you have an aunt? Think about that woman in your life that you really care about. Think about how long you want them to be around for you, for the other people in your life, because they offer so much. That's why you need to make sure they go get tested, or they need to go get their mammogram, whatever. Paint the picture when you're sitting at a radio station, because they only have the words that you say. And if you're only call to action, go buy my tickets, go buy my books, go buy, you've lost them. I'm telling you what I know, you have completely lost them. Leave that interview on the radio with them needing to hear more from you. You've given so much value. You've given so much content in such a short amount of time. You've created such a need in such a short amount of time that they've got to visit your website. They've got to find out where you are. They've got to go to your event. They've got to purchase that book. Leave them needing to hear more from you. And always end with your website and social media. That's radio. Now, what do you need to know about television or take into consideration when it comes to television? Well, when you sit down for that interview, so glad you asked. Listen, you can give more powerful, easily digestible, and recyclable nuggets of information. You need to do that for radio too. Television tends to be recycled more, meaning if there's a snippet of information that you gave and you gave it in such a way that's something that I can utilize again and again, I can run as a promo on my network, I can put it up as on my website as something to introduce a feature later on. I can use it as a highlights reel. It shows up at the end of the year wrap up that we do before New Year's Day. Like, you want those types of just compact nuggets, snippets that they can use over and over and over and over and over again. So you've got to think that way. You got to think, what's a way to say this quickly, powerfully, and in such a digestible way that they've gotten every bit of meat and understanding that they need to get out of it in 30 seconds. Like, how can I do that in 10 seconds, in 20 seconds? How can I be a wordsmith and get my gigantic hour-long keynote speech down to a digestible 10 seconds that I have said so powerfully that you want to see that over and over and over and over and over again? This is what I'm talking about. This is what you got to do, okay? I see the little line going across my head. I'm sorry. I don't want that to be distracting to you. See? This is what I'm talking about with television. Stuff could be distracting. I'm telling you what I know. All right. So, okay. Television also, you want to present a consistent image that's easily identifiable. So what do I mean? If you're planning on doing a whole lot of television interviews, several of them, or you're doing a series or something, understand that if you have red hair one day, then you've got short hair the next interview. And then the next interview is long black hair down your back. And then the next interview, it's braids with some blue streaks in them. Nobody can identify you. Eventually, they'll identify you as the lady with the crazy hair. Not sure that's what you want to be identified for unless you're trying to get the message out about your salon. But if it's anything else, you need to have something that's identifiable as you, consistent, so that you can, in fact, be identified as who you are, visibly identified as who you are. Because on radio, your voice, oh, they sound familiar. I've been in a line at a store. I'll never forget. I was at a Subway sandwich shop and I started ordering my sandwich. And they were like, your voice sounds familiar. Are you Denise Hill? Radio will do that. When they consistently hear you, then they begin to recognize your voice. Television's the same way. The problem is with television, it's not just consistently see your image, but that's going to be replayed over and over again, not just on that network, but on social media, but on my website, and over it just video, and the visual representation of you, there you go, goes much further than just audio. Yeah, so make sure you give them something in terms of an image that becomes recognizable and identifiable as who you are, okay? Have a clear call to action, always ending with your social media, with your website, with something that will allow them to get back in touch with you, all right? And you got to get to that point quickly. And usually they'll do what's called superimpose, or put the image on the screen that has your contact information. That's one of those questions you need to ask before you end, to make sure, hey, before I go, you'll make sure to promote my website, right? You'll put the image on the screen and get that commitment from them to do that, so that you're not so pressured to have to, but you should get in the habit of making sure people know how to get in touch with you. It's super important. This is what you need to keep in mind when you're sitting for a television opportunity, all right? Be intense, be passionate without being fidgety or distracting. So me, I can often get very fidgety when I'm trying to be passionate. I'll get, and I'll do the gestures and I'll like, hey. And that's great when I'm on the radio and nobody sees me flailing about, right? On television, it can be very distracting. I don't want to go to the exact extreme. And now I'm so closed off that I'm not engaging and I'm not welcoming for the content. But I also don't want to be flailing the way I would when I'm on the radio trying to, get myself to really give you the full experience just using my voice. Same thing for you. When you go sit with television, you have to know, be intense without being fidgety or distracting. Don't wear flashy, bright colored clothes. That's going to hurt the lens. That's going to hurt everybody watching you. Try to have something that's muted down and with a pop of color. Perfectly fine pops of color. But a whole lime green alligator suit with the matching shoes, like, too much. Can't do that. No. Black suit with one green tie. Now we could talk. Black suit with just the crocodile. Now we can talk, because the camera now has the producer can have the opportunity to say, that's too much for the screen. Go in on them. And now they just got you from up here, as opposed to all the way a full shot, right? And that's another thing for you to know about television. 360, like, they might not see the back of your head, but they might, because they may have a camera off to the side, as opposed to thinking, oh, they just need to see me from the front. They're going to see you all around. Make sure you're not wearing stuff that's too flashy, including jewelry, not just clothes. Like these hoops, probably as big as I would go on television, as opposed to, oh, I've got the fringe and the diamonds and it's all drooping down and I got the big earring. They're laying on my shoulder like shoulder pads. No, it's just, we don't want to do that. All right. Know your facial expressions. If anybody's ever told you you have a resting B face, you need to control that. Know how you look when you're in deep thought. The camera catches you like this, that might be a problem for your image. That might be a problem for the brand and the service that you're trying to promote, because now people see you as being stuck up or something. Like, you got to know your facial gestures. You don't want to look scary too. Like, I want to make sure I'm smiling all the time and practice that stuff in the face. Practice that stuff in the mirror. I mean, like, know your smiles, full, 3/4, half. Like, practice, okay? This stuff doesn't just happen overnight. I can only talk to you about this because I've got decades into it. If you have not been sitting for interviews for decades, then you need to practice. Get with somebody, do some mock interviews, record yourself, go back, look at yourself, analyze, and keep practicing. And of course, taking interviews, getting those recordings, getting that video, looking back at it, which you have to ask for in advance, by the way, and go back and analyze it to see how you can be better next time. Like, this is going to take some time for you. Be prepared with a list of questions for the host so that they can get to the point. You're there to promote your book. 9.5 times out of 10, they did not read it at all. Don't know what it's about, could care less. You better have a list of 10 questions that will help guide that conversation so that they can go in the direction that you want, as opposed to just talking about some random stuff that they feel is important. Have a list of questions. That's how they operate on television. Here are your questions. They're on the teleprompter. Read them, engage with the person. They will give you the content to continue to interview, and you'll know how to go from there. And then the time will be up. They'll count you down and you'll be out. Unlike radio, okay? You can still have that same list of questions for a radio personality, but the likelihood of them following them, slim to none. Take it from a radio host. All right, that's how some things you want to keep into consideration when it comes to sitting for a radio interview. I'm sorry, a television interview. You've had radio, we've had television. Let's talk about social media, okay? When it comes to social media, whether you're doing a live, whether you're doing a podcast, and right now podcasts are kind of still defined as social media. That may change very shortly as more and more social media companies grow, and as people are dropping millions for social media hosts. And then you have satellite, and then there are so many different mediums. I'm just giving you the big pictures, okay? For social media, know your community. Social media is different than traditional radio and traditional television, because social media is about community building. Those people are like-minded. They are interested in things you're interested in. They talk like you, they think like you, they dress like you, they engage in the same activities. It's about community. So where in television and radio, we would say, know your audience. For social media, we got to say, know your community, okay? Know who you're talking to. Be familiar with the lifestyle of the consumers for your product. It doesn't, again, make sense. If I am about women empowerment, I can go on a men's health podcast, but if that men's health podcast is not a podcast that works with allowing a woman to share so that the man can go back to the woman in their life and bring that information to them. Like, if they're all about only how the man is going to be benefited, then it doesn't make sense for me to be on that show. That's not my community. Now, there could be a men's health podcast, which is like, men, what you need to know for the women in your life. Now that one, a women's empowerment speaker could be with, right? This is why you need to know and be familiar with the lifestyle, because there's little nuances that can take that same male audience and change the lifestyle and how they choose to behave, what they choose to engage in, the activities, the social life, all of that. That's the lifestyle. Liberal versus conservative, music oriented versus news oriented. Like all of those little nuances matter. Okay. Engaging video or picture that's most effective when you're dealing with social media. Okay. Social media is audio and video and the combination of all of them and infographics, and it's any and everything you want to make it, which is different than traditional radio and traditional television because they've got this kind of corporate structure and this kind of way it's been programmed to offer programming. Social media is defined by the community. It's defined by how the community chooses to help it grow and build, and what the platforms continue to learn from what the communities say they want to grow and build. So you got to be ready to engage it on all those levels and more, including video, which we know is far more effective than just a picture. Okay. But the pictures you use, they need to be right. The first few seconds of a video or words of a post, crucial. Crucial. You literally have 3 seconds to get somebody's attention before you've lost them. 3 seconds. Science has said, multiple studies have said, the human attention span is 8 seconds. And when I first started in communication a few decades ago, it was 13 seconds. So we're losing our attention span every year. You got to catch them quick. Catch them quick. Make sure those first seconds of videos matter. Make sure that picture, the first few words in your post matters. Your introduction isn't long and drawn out. Get to the point of who you are so I can decide whether or not I want to engage. That matters. Okay? I'm stop hitting my little camera here. I'm getting passionate. Yeah. Use hashtags properly. Don't just put some random long hashtag. Hashtag today was a day that I just wanted to pull my hair out. Nobody else is using that hashtag. Okay? It's meant to be able to search and find other community members. And there's not one other community member saying that. They know. Use them properly, okay? Use them so that they help you, that they don't hurt you, and that they help you build your audience. Your audience will continue to grow and be built through engagement. When people respond to your stuff, respond back to them. Say thank you. I agree. Go for it. Happy face emoji. Thumbs up, like respond, because that's called engagement. Imagine me speaking to you, you speak back to me, and then I walk away. Or worse, you speak to me, good morning. Oh, I hate this when I'm running, right? When I'm going on my morning jogs and I'll pass somebody, I'm like, good morning. And they'll just, oh, that's just so rude. Like, engage. You want these people to buy your book, come to your events, to listen to you as a speaker, to listen to you as an artist, to go and download your music, etc., etc. You got to engage with them. Okay? Listen, this series I hope is helpful to you. So much more I could give. So much more I could and will, because I'm here for your communication education. As you approach the media, understand there's a lot of nuances in it. The key is first for you to know what your purpose in approaching them is. Then be well prepared when you get that opportunity. Before you sit down, ask the necessary questions. And then when you sit down, apply what needs to be applied for that particular medium, whether it's radio, television, social media, or anything else. Apply to that particular scenario, and don't be so arrogant to believe that the way you showed up at a radio station is the way you can show up to somebody's podcast. Pay attention to the differences and nuances, the differences in hosts, the differences in platforms, the differences in audience, in their lifestyles, etc., etc. All of that will help you be super successful when you approach the media, okay? I really, really hope this has been helpful, and I'm looking forward to giving you so much more communication education. Don't forget, it's not about what you say. It's about what you communicate, all right?